George Silver and his wife Marcia are suing process server Richard Horner for using excessive force while serving a warrant. Richard is countersuing, claiming the Silvers have filed a frivolous lawsuit.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 582 on the calendar in the matter of Silver versus Horner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Silver, you are suing the defendant who is a process server. It is your claim that Mr. Horner overstepped his bounds while attempting to serve a summons on, I believe it was you, Mr. Silver, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And it is your claim that he trespassed in your home, caused you some emotional distress.
Yes.
Mr. Horner says he was within his rights in serving the summons the way he did, and he is counterclaiming because he says that you have no right to sue him, and you're wasting his time. So I have a few brief questions. Mr. Horner, how long have you been a process server, sir?
I've been a process server for over 20 years. My company...
Okay, don't tell me about your company. 20 years. And when were you hired to serve a summons on Mr. Silver?
Sometime in the early week of August.
Give me the date.
I'm not exactly sure the date. I know I served him on the 15th, so it was approximately a week prior to that I was given the summons to serve.
1 week prior.
Yes, ma'am.
Had you made any attempts to serve? Put that down. Had you made any attempts to serve him?
Yes, I did.
When was the first attempt?
The first attempt was probably the day I got the service, and I saw that it was a secured, locked complex.
So what efforts did you make to serve him?
If you don't mind, I'd like to go to my steps to access.
No. I don't want you to read anything.
Okay.
I want you to tell me what you did.
What I did is I contacted the owner and management of the complex.
Where Mr. Silver lives.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
And I said that I'm a process server, and I have a summons to serve on one of their tenants, and I would like to gain access with their permission and direction.
And what were you advised?
I was advised that someone would meet me there to show me into the property.
What was the name of the person you spoke to?
I do not recall, ma'am.
That's too bad for you, Mr. Horner. What was the name of the person that let you into the property?
I do not recall, ma'am. It was a manager.
That's also too bad for you, Mr. Horner. Someone who is in a professional capacity as you, it seemed to me, would keep very careful notes about who you spoke to, especially about getting into a locked premises, and the person who let you into that premises.
However, ma'am,
So,
it's part of the guidelines of a process server to respect and keep confidential the
Then you
guard
don't
or
say,
the
I
owner.
don't remember, sir. Then you say, I can't give you that information. That's a different story. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, there is no privileged communication between you and the management company of a building or you and the security guard of a building. You are neither a priest, nor a journalist, nor a physician, or anybody else. So I want you to give me the name of the person you spoke to at the complex.
Ma'am, for this reason, I do not take notes. And I don't care who the person is that lets me in. And I'd like to quote a law on this subject, if you don't mind.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So, what happened on the 8th of August, sir? Somebody let you in, and...
On the 15th of August.
Oh, no, so you didn't go in on the 8th.
No, I did not go in.
So then
I contacted.
I want you to pay attention. I speak English. My English is very clear. It's how I made a living for 35 years. I said to you, when did you make the first attempt at service? Not, Mr. Horner, when you called somebody on the phone. So I want you to tell me, when was the first time you attempted to serve Mr. Silva?
The first attempt is when I went to the property and discovered that it was locked.
And that was on the 8th?
That was on the 8th, correct.
You discovered it was a locked premises, so you went back to your office, and then you made a phone call.
I actually directed this to somebody that works for me and said, please find me the owner-manager, tell them I'd like to speak to them, and make an appointment for me to go there with their permission to gain access to the property.
And when were you given access to the premises?
On the 15th of August.
So the answer is you only attempted service really one time, and that was on the 15th.
That's correct.
See how easy that was, Mr. Horner?
Yes, ma'am.
I've been cross-examining longer than you've been alive. Now, where did you first come in contact with this person?
Outside the gate that allows access to the premise.
And they opened the locked premises for you?
That is correct.
Where did you go?
He let me in and I went into the building of Mr. Silver.
And what did you do once you got into the building?
I went to the door, rang the doorbell.
You mean to their apartment?
That's correct.
Who answered the door?
Mr. Silver answered the door.
And what did you do when Mr. Silver answered the door?
I said I'm a process server. I showed him my identification, which I have here, if you'd like to see it.
No.
And I said, I have some papers here for you. And he jumped back, tried to close the door, and I threw the papers inside and said, you've been served. Best of luck to you, sir. You might want to contact your attorney.
So far? First, Mr. Silver.
Totally false, Your Honor. We are the owners of the building. It's a condominium. We own it. The manager is not on the premises of the building at all.
Well, who is
There's
the
no way
manager?
of contacting the manager unless you know who it is.
Well, they might have been...
I'm on the board.
Listen to me. Mr. Silva, who manages the building?
We have a private company that does
Name.
some work for it,
Name of the managing company, Mr. Silva.
I believe, and there's another name.
Are those the people you contacted?
That is correct.
Fine.
There's no way, Your Honor, that.
Don't tell me that there's no way. That's very possible, Mr.
All right.
Silva. Now, Mrs. Silva, I'm going to direct your attention to the 15th of August.
Yes.
And I want you to tell me what happened, the best of your recollection, when Mr. Horner came to serve the summons.
There was a knock on my door. Being that I live in a building that you have to have a key to get through 3 gates and a buzzer to get into the main area, I figured that it was somebody that I knew. So I walked to the door. First I said, who is it? And I heard something that sounded similar. I'm here for George, or is George here? I just heard George. I did not hear Silver.
Is that your husband's first name?
My husband's first name is George. So I opened up the door a little bit, and the next thing I knew, in true Gestapo fashion, he shoved the door open. I was the one that was there. He shoved the door open, and he elbowed his way in, and he walked in, and he cut a turn into my living room, went through the living room, into the family room, into the bathroom, and as he was into the back, going into the bedroom, my husband heard it, came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a bright red terry cloth towel, which is not a pretty picture. He walked out, and he said, what's going on? What's going on? He was wet, and he said, Mr. Silver or George Silver or what? I just heard him asking his name. I was, by that time, was very, very upset. He handed him the paper, said, this is for you. He turned around. As he walked back, I tried to question him, and I was also brusquely shoved aside, and he walked out. And even to this day, I'm not the scary type, but even to this day, when I'm alone, I don't answer the door.
He doesn't look so scary to me, Mrs. Silva.
Well, I didn't.
It's a frightening experience.
Yeah, I'm shaking now.
It's a frightening experience.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's neat service when you serve the defendant themselves. Substituted service would have meant service on Mrs. Silva. You and I understand each other, Mr. Horner?
We understand.
I've been around for a long time.
I understand.
And later today,
She has undermined him. She has belittled him. She has brainwashed him. My son had to have her taken away to a mental institution for 3 days. I mean, she wasn't chasing her around with knives.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. George and Marcia Silver claim process server Richard Horner used excessive force while serving a warrant. The Silvers claim Richard strong-armed his way into their home.
Now, Mr. Horner, Mrs. Silver tells a story that is slightly different from yours, sir.
Your Honor, that is ridiculous, and I'd like to tell you why. Can I give you some evidence so you can see what I'm talking about?
What is it?
It's code sections. I'd like to call your attention to two
Don't show me code sections.
Okay.
I'm not interested in code sections.
Okay.
That's not evidence, sir.
All right. Here's
You're
my
well
evidence.
aware of the fact, Mr. Horner, and you were advised before you came here
Yes.
that I'm not bound by any code, any local statute. You're well aware of that.
I'm well aware of that.
Then I want you to give me evidence, sir.
Okay, I will give you evidence.
You gave me a story that is totally dissimilar from that of Mrs. Silva.
Okay, let me give you my answer. My answer is very simple. There is no reason for me to do that because the law prescribes the following. A registered process server, which I have been for several decades, and I'm not only...
I understand, sir, Mr. Horner. What you're going to tell me is that you can serve on someone of reasonable age within your suitable discretion at the home and consider
That's
it proper
correct.
service. The only problem is, sir, it removes one step from the personal service.
Okay.
Do you understand? You and I understand each other, Mr. Horner?
We understand.
I've been around for a long time.
I understand.
It's neat service when you serve the defendant themselves.
That's
Is that right,
correct.
Mr. Horner?
However, let me show
No. So, it's just so everybody else understands, including Bert, who may not remember this from our old civil days. If you substitute service, and what you're talking about, Mr. Horner, is what we call in the trade substituted service.
is
Isn't
correct.
that right, Mr. Horner?
That is correct.
Substituted service would have meant service on Mrs. Silva. Then
is
you would have had to have done an affidavit and then perhaps a hearing to determine whether or not he actually got the summons. It's not neat. So it's not the same thing. Put your hand down.
What I was going to offer to you as evidence is that I do not need to come into contact with him as long as we're within reasonable distance, both physical and
You have
speaking
to,
distance.
listen to me, sir. You have to see him.
That's correct.
That is correct,
And
sir.
that's what
And
happened.
just listen to me, sir. And according to Mrs. Silva, you did not see him until you were inside the apartment.
I would never do that. I have, in 23 years, Your Honor, with over 1,000 services each year, personally. I do not need to because I can make more money by hanging out and waiting for him. I don't charge a flat fee, Your Honor.
Do you have a listed or an unlisted phone?
It's listed, Your Honor.
I want to know, Mr. Horner, why is it that you did not try to telephone Mr. and Mrs. Silva or Mr. Silva and say, I have a summons that has to be served?
I never do that
Why not?
because approximately 50% of the people would avoid service.
Let me ask you this question, Mr. Horner. When you were given the summons to serve Mr. Silva, the summons of necessity had to describe who he was, his age, physical condition, etc.
Correct.
So if you have physical description, because usually a summons, at least if possible, contains a physical description of the
That's
person to
right.
be served. We both know that. How old are you, Mr. Silva?
73, Your Honor.
If you were going to serve a summons on someone who was 73 years old, and according to my eye, slightly overweight,
I'm on a
I
diet, Your
might
Honor.
say that discretion would be to pick up the telephone and say, look, Mr. Silva, I have a summons to serve on you. I see that you're 73 years old. I don't want to frighten you. I don't want to frighten your wife. I don't want to have to come at some ungodly time. That, to me, is what somebody with 20 years experience does when they're dealing with serving somebody who is in their 70s.
I beg to differ.
Well, that's too bad. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. I think you stepped out of bounds, Mr. Horner. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What is that excuse? You may step out.
Approximately once a year, a wise guy decides that they can undo the process service,
He got up very easily.
unravel their problems in court.
First of all, it was a complete lie.
When we left, he threatened me and said, "You're not done with me yet."
Absolutely false.
It's not personal. I don't care.
This guy has got to be stopped. He's a bully, and he uses Gestapo tactics, and he shouldn't be allowed to do this.
Real estate student Serena Catway is suing her sister, floral designer Suzanne Tyler, for the return of her car and an assault.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Cantway versus Tyler. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Cantway, the defendant is your sister.
Yes.
According to your complaint, she has a car that belongs to you that she refuses to return, and at some point in a dispute over the use of that car, your sister assaulted you. Your sister says that the car is hers, you gave it to her, and that she never laid a hand on you. If anything, she was trying to protect you from yourself. So, Ms. Cantway, tell me how it came to be that your sister actually had possession of your car, because clearly the car is in her possession.
Yes. Last year, July 30th of last year, we decided to write up an agreement. I needed to borrow some money. I was having financial difficulties due to a personal situation, and we were going to write up a financial agreement that she was going to loan me the money and use the car. There were other circumstances behind it that she needed help.
Listen to me. Relax. You're going to have a turn to speak. You understand? So, sometime last year, you were going to write up an agreement.
We did write up an agreement.
Can I see it, please? Now, when did you write up this agreement?
7/30/01.
And what happened? Signed this agreement that she would let her use your 1991 Toyota Tercel and keep it as collateral for $600 loan. You say the loan never came about?
No, the loan never came about.
So, what happened next?
Well, a couple of months went by. We talked about it a little bit. The situation was good for her at that point because the car that she had been driving, she sold because it was unsafe. She did help me watch my kids, and it was a safe car for her to be able to drive around in. I did have another vehicle at the time.
Where did you gotten this car from?
My mother gave me this car
When?
back in 1995.
And you had another car.
At the time that my sister was using mine, yes.
What kind of car did you have?
1996 Camaro.
So what happened a year later?
Well, we had had a few discussions about the car. She was perfectly aware of the situation, that the car was to be used by her, not owned by her. She knew.
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay, well, as far as my understanding, she knew.
Just don't
We had
tell me what she
conversations.
knew.
In February of the following year, I told her that my Camaro is going to have to go on filing bankruptcy. Well, something happened to the Camaro prior to them revoting it on the bankruptcy anyway, but either way, it was going to go. I told her I have to have the vehicle back. We discussed being able to work out terms of sharing the vehicle so that neither one of us would be without a car.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Cantway. There came a time when you signed over the pink slip to the car to your sister.
Yeah.
When was that?
I think that was probably about a month later, maybe.
A month later when? A month later
From
in?
the time that we signed the agreement.
So at the end of August.
Yes.
Now, could you explain to me why you signed over the pink slip to your
Because
sister?
at the time, I did not have a driver's license. In order to insure the vehicle, it was extremely expensive. The
What do
insurance
you mean you
company...
didn't have a driver's license? You told me that you had a...
Yeah, I had a car, but it
I'm
doesn't mean I drove
speaking.
it.
You told me that you had another car that you were driving.
I didn't drive it. I had another car.
Why weren't you driving it?
I didn't have a license.
Why not?
I made a mistake. Something I had to pay for. Has nothing to do with the situation of why I don't have my Tercel now.
If it has anything to do with drinking, it has to do with the situation, because your sister says part of the problem was you driving at the same time, and that the altercation that you had that resulted in you say you getting assaulted had to do with her trying to protect you and your children. So what I'm asking you is, you said you'd made a mistake. Did it have anything to do with DUI
Yes,
that you
ma'am,
received?
it did have to do with the DUI.
Okay. So at the time that you gave her the pink slip for the car, that allowed her to put the car in her name.
For insurance purposes.
No. No. That's prima facie evidence of a gift. If you turn over the pink slip, it says that you are now the owner of the car,
I thought I was getting a loan.
but you didn't get the loan.
I
A
didn't
month
get a
later.
loan. I gave her time to give me the money. She's supposedly getting a settlement. I needed the money to pay my attorney. She never got a settlement. I never got any money. So I was without my vehicle and without a loan.
So are you telling me, but for the fact that this transaction never took place, you would have sold her your car for $600?
No, collateral.
Well, let us say that she never gave you the money.
Which never happened.
You never took your collateral back because you had already
I tried.
Right.
I tried.
Okay, now let's move on. Let's move on to this assault that you allege.
July 4th, my sister I knew was going to the Baptist church with my mother for the fireworks show, so I called and said that I was going to come and use the car in order to take my children to the fireworks. I received a phone call back that I'm not allowed to use the car unless I ask nicely. So I drove over to the house to find out what was wrong, what was going on. We ended up getting into an argument about the agreement, about the car. She grabbed her keys, grabbed her purse, and went down the stairs to get into the vehicle. I sat in the passenger seat and I turned it off. I said, "You're going to..."
Just a minute. She ran downstairs and you followed her.
I walked downstairs, followed her, yes.
Go ahead.
I turned off the ignition. As I did that, she reached over, grabbed my hand, scratched up my hand right here. I threw the keys out the window as kind of just a response to being grabbed. She started to claw at me. I threw up my hands, grabbed her wrists, and asked her to stop. "What are you doing?" is what I said.
Okay, Miss Tyler, I'll hear you.
When we did the agreement, I was the one that did that. I said, "Serena, I want to give you something for the car." She said, "Look, I'll sign over the pink slip. I really don't want the money." But I went ahead and did that anyway.
No, that's not what happened, Miss Tyler. Just pay careful attention.
Okay.
That's not what happened. Not unless you can show me that the pink slip to the car was signed over on July 30th.
This was signed over on September the 14th.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So it wasn't signed over on July 30th. Well, let's get your story together.
Okay. So anyway,
Now, let's start from the beginning so that you can hopefully get your story together properly. Your best defense is the truth. I want you to understand that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
she got really belligerent with me and said something about my son who was brutally murdered 5 years ago. And she started punching on me, and then she threw the keys out the window.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Catway says she used her car as collateral for a loan from her sister, Suzanne Tyler. Serena says the loan never happened and Suzanne won't return the car. Serena also claims Suzanne assaulted her.
You signed this piece of paper.
Right.
You signed.
Right.
This piece of paper says you're getting this car as collateral towards a loan for $600 in which I will repay her at $25 a month. That's what this says.
Oh, that is not the one. I don't have a copy of it.
Really? Oh, show this to her.
I
I'm
don't.
sorry.
I don't,
Show that to
Your
her,
Honor.
please. You have that?
This is not the one, Serena.
Oh, wait, do you have,
No, I don't have a copy of this.
no, do you have a copy of any agreement that you
No,
signed?
no.
Okay, but you never signed that?
No.
Good, can I have it, please?
That is the agreement, Your Honor.
Okay. I
There is
don't know
no
that
other
at all.
agreement.
I don't know that at all. Go ahead.
So on September the 14th, my sister signed over the title of the car.
Tell me about the conversation that you had
I
with her.
did tell her I did want to give her some money for the car. This was before she signed this over. I said, I don't feel right about it. But she said, don't worry about it. Mom got the car for me, and it's like a family heirloom. I'm going to pass it down to you.
That's not true.
Okay. Can I see the pink slip?
I've
Can I
never
see
called the
title?
car a family heirloom.
Go ahead.
So then after this, I was always driving her kids around because she had 2 DUIs. So I was doing that for her. And I think it was a few months after that, Serena had mentioned that she was behind on her Camaro payments. And so it was not too long after that that she totaled the Camaro. And
I
she,
didn't total the Camaro.
Yes, you did, Serena.
Miss Tyler, just talk to me.
She told the Camaro she didn't have any insurance. The car was going to be repossessed. So she hid the car in the garage for 3 weeks. And she went down and she got an insurance company to insure the car. When her boyfriend got her back from Spain, they went and they told the insurance company that he was the one that was driving it, so she
Your
wouldn't
Honor.
get in trouble because she didn't have a license. So
I
then
was
she
filing
made...
bankruptcy. I'm sorry, but I was going to lose the car. I did not wreck it.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, okay. Then after this, it was like a few weeks after that, her and her girlfriend came up to the house.
You're talking about the incident in July?
No,
July
ma'am.
4th?
She's talking.
This was in the spring of 2002 when she wrecked the Camaro.
Okay, she wrecked the Camaro.
Right, and it was like 2 weeks after that, I was sitting on the front porch, and her and a friend came over, and a friend of hers was outside talking to me, and Serena went in the house, and she said, you need to give the car back to Serena. And I said, what are you talking about?
And what did you do to her?
And I said,
Miss
what are you...
Cantway, I don't want to hear you.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I said, what are you talking about? And she says, you need to give that car back to Serena. And I says, this is an agreement between me and Serena. It's really none of your business. And I asked her to leave. And then she got really belligerent with me and said something about my son who was brutally murdered 5 years ago. So I called the cops and asked her to please leave.
Who said that to you, the friend?
Yeah, her
Okay,
friend of
a
hers.
friend. Keep going.
So then I asked Serena was there, and I came out. I said, Serena, what is? I called the cops because I said, you got to get this woman off my property.
Okay.
So then I told Serena, I says, what is the deal with the car?
Don't interrupt her.
I'm not
She
interrupting.
didn't
I was raising
interrupt.
my hand.
No. She didn't interrupt you while you were testifying.
Yes.
When she did once, I told her to be quiet, and she waited. That's what I'm telling you. Do you understand?
Yes.
I don't have to say it again. It irritates me to be irritated.
I'm sorry to irritate you.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Serena Catway says she used her car as collateral for a loan from her sister, Suzanne Tyler. Serena says the loan never happened and Suzanne won't return the car. Serena also claims Suzanne assaulted her.
Keep going.
So then I confronted Serena because she was there, and I said, what is the deal with the car? What is this about this contract that you're talking about? And she says, well, I was using that against Scott in case he wanted to get his hands on the car. And I'm going, what are you talking about? And I want the car back after you get your settlement. And I'm thinking, and I told Serena, I says, well, Serena, I don't know why you...
Ms. Tyler is you talking about?
Because I have a workman's comp, so I broke my neck, and I'm still recovering from
Would
that.
you tell me, please, what happened on the 4th of July of 2002?
Yes, Serena wanted to borrow the car, and she had borrowed the car 5 days in a row because I know she was out of vehicle, and I was trying to do the nice thing for her.
And you had your driver's license back at that time?
She did get it back, yeah. So, but during that week, she had, I know this for a fact because she left the house and she drove the car twice drunk. She let somebody else drive the car. So during that evening on the 3rd, I was sitting on the porch with family members. They were concerned. They said, you're going to have to not let Serena drive the car. So I said, well, I know this is going to be a problem. So the next day when she asked me to use the car, I said, honey, I got errands to run. I said, I'll try to arrange a ride for you, and we'll try to see what we can work out. Well, then she came over shortly after our conversation on the phone, extremely upset with me, yelling and screaming. I said, Serena, quit yelling at me. And then she brought up the contract, the $600. She kept it up, and I said, I've got to get away from here. So I grabbed my keys, and I began to go down the stairs. She followed me. She got in the car. She grabbed the keys. We were like this, and she started punching on me, and then she threw the keys out the window. And then when I waited, I had a second set of keys. When she went back upstairs, I got in the car, rolled up the windows, and I took off, and I went to my cousin's house. And I left town. I left town the following week because I got tired of the abuse, and I moved to Napa.
Ms. Cantway, I'm certainly hearing two diverse stories.
I see that, yeah.
My job is made very easy by the fact that neither of you dispute the fact that you signed over the pink slip to this car, not conditionally, not as a lien holder, but for all purposes to your sister. If you had signed it over to her and been a lien holder for $600, because that was the condition of giving it to her, that she would pay you $600 or give you $600, there would have been a lien on the car for $600.
Yeah.
But you did not. You signed it over so that she is now the owner of that car.
Yep.
So your lawsuit with regard to the return of the car is dismissed. With regard to the assault, since I find that this was her car, and you had absolutely no right to get into her car to pull the keys out of the ignition, stop the car.
Your Honor.
I'm speaking. She says it's because you had either let someone else drive the car or
Nobody else
family.
drove the
I'm
car.
speaking, or people told her that you were driving the car while you were intoxicated. And if it's her car in her name, she is liable for anything that happens to the car. In any event, you had no right to get into the car, pull the ignition keys out, toss them out, and if she scratched your hand at the time that you were struggling over the car keys, she has a right to do that.
Yes.
Because it's her car.
I had driven the car drunk, Your Honor.
No, it doesn't make any
I took
difference.
the dog to the vet to be put down, and I picked his daughter up from school.
Let's say you weren't driving the car drunk. You still have absolutely no right to get into her car and touch her property, and she has the right to use whatever force is necessary to get your hands off the ignition keys. And if she scratched your hand while she was doing it, she scratched your hand. That's it. I mean, it's certainly very sad
She
that...
had neglected to mention to you what she did to the other girl who was supposedly so belligerent at her house. The other girl mentioned, why don't you give the vehicle back to Serena? It is her car. You know what she did to that girl? She grabbed her by the bottom of her neck and scratched her all the way up to her ears.
Now, if this person that you brought to the house said something to her about her child who was murdered...
No, they said nothing about that.
You were
They would
inside.
not
You
do
were
that.
inside You were not outside
I
when
was
that com-
outside.
No, I don't. Miss Cantway,
The porch
I don't
is right
believe
there.
a whole lot of what you're telling me. What I do believe is that you gave your sister your car because you had another car. You had no use to have for this second car. You had a newer car.
I wish
the
I
newer.
was-
I'm speaking. The newer car got repossessed. You said, "I want my car back." She said, "I'm not giving you your car back." She said, "But I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you. You use it when you need it, and I'll use it when I need it." And then you had an argument.
No.
And you want a court to resolve it as a family dispute. I don't intend to do that. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
All right, Judge, excuse me, step out.
He's got a lot of animosity to me, and it really hurts my feelings, and I wish he didn't have to come to this.
I just found out the blood's not thicker than water.
She was demanding and wanted it back, and it wasn't just going to work out that way for her this time.
According to her, I'm the spoiled one that gets her way all the time. Well, obviously not, huh?
Maybe somewhere down the road we can settle it.
Exterminator Rick Weaver and his fiancée, Chrissy Mayer, are suing business owner Stephen Burt for emotional distress over the botched sale of a van. Stephen is countersuing for the return of his deposit and for vandalism to his car.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 273 on the calendar in the matter of Weaver, Maya versus Burt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Weaver, this case is a little complicated, so let me see if I can untangle it. You had a 1989 van that you decided to sell, and I assume you put a sign out in the van?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant, who you didn't know, saw the sign and decided to buy the van. He gave you a deposit. There is some discrepancy as to the amount of the deposit, but he gave you a deposit. He was supposed to come back and pay the rest.
Right.
According to you, he did not come back on the day he was supposed to come back, so the next day you sold the van to somebody else.
Yes.
When he did come back for the van, you told him, "I'm sorry, you didn't come back when you were supposed to, so I sold it to somebody else." The defendant said, "Okay, give me my deposit back." You said it was a non-refundable deposit. Then there were several things that happened. He says you told him you'd give him some money when you got a check, and he came back a couple of times to try to get the money. In any event, you claim that he had you falsely arrested for terrorizing him,
Yes.
and you want to be compensated for that false arrest.
Yes.
Mr. Burt is counterclaiming. He wants his deposit back, and he wants damage to his car because he said when he tried to pursue you for the return of his deposit, you did in fact threaten him, and you threw a brick at his car, damaging his car, and he's counterclaiming. So, Mr. Weaver, tell me when Mr. Burt approached you. He came to your house?
Yes.
What date?
It was July 17th when he came to my house. I heard a doorbell ring. Went to the door. Excuse me.
I asked questions. You had July 17th is your answer.
Yes.
How much were you asking for the van?
I wanted $1,000 for it.
Did you write up an agreement with him?
Yes, we did.
Do you have a copy of the agreement?
No, I gave it to him because it was like a receipt.
Can I see the receipt, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I want the original receipt.
Well, man, what happened to the original? My wife had washed my pants and it got destroyed, and I had to make a copy of it.
You say the price was $2,000, Mr. Burt.
Actually,
I want you to make very, very certain, Mr. Burt, that we understand each other absolutely 100% right. Do you understand?
yes, ma'am.
How much of a deposit did you give him?
I gave him a $1,200 deposit, man.
Show me proof that you had $1,200 with you and where you got the money from. Because
Okay.
he says you gave him a $100 deposit. There's a big difference. He says you're selling the car for $1,000. You say $2,000. You say you gave him a $1,200 deposit. He says you gave him.
No, I asked him for a $100 deposit. He brought back $200.
Show me where you took $1,200 from, Mr. Burt.
Yeah, I'm a carpet cleaning business owner.
You're a what?
Carpet cleaning business owner. I own a carpet cleaning business called Priority One. What happened was, me and my wife went home. I got the $1,200
From where?
from my house. What happened, I didn't have it in the bank because I had a discrepancy with the bank, and I had to withdraw all my money out of the bank. And that basically came through a settlement that I had received.
Bert, you think that you can get me the Blue Book value of a 1989 Astro van with 200,000 miles?
Sure. Good.
Thank you. Now, sir, he gave you, according to you, $200, and he was supposed to come back when?
On July 27th, he never called, never showed up.
On the 27th.
On the 27th, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what happened on the 28th? Who'd you sell it to?
On the 28th, I waited all day for him to call, left a note on my door, even which he had stated to me after he came 2 weeks later, after the 28th, that he had saw the note and never called me anyway, because he said his wife was in the hospital. So.
When did you sell the car, the
The
28th?
night of the 28th, what I did
To
was,
whom?
his name was Guy.
And you have all of his information.
Yes,
is that
I
right?
have the canceled check and the
What's the
receipt.
cancel check? You can step up. Bird isn't here. Step up.
I'm sorry. This is the receipt we wrote up the day of 28th. That's
Step
canceled
back.
check. Thank you.
All right, so this is my question. So 2 weeks later, Mr. Burt comes back and says, where's my car? And you said, don't have the car, and he wants his deposit back.
Right.
Clearly, based upon the evidence that you've just given me, sir, you sold the car for more money to this other person
Yes.
than you did to
The reason
Mr.
why-
than you did to Mr. Burt. So you were not out any money. Why didn't you give him back his $200?
Because when he had first come to my house, I said I needed the money for my mortgage because I was out of work because of my knee, and I needed the money by the 27th. I said it was a non-refundable deposit if you did not show up.
Come on. It's not in your contract.
I know I should have written it, but it was.
It's not there. And if you write up a contract and it's not there, I mean, not that I'm saying this might not have been altered to alter the money, because I think that that's a possibility. Because clearly I believe that you sold the van for $1,100. So why would you sell it to him for $2,000 and then sell it to somebody else for half that? You have a price there for me?
Trade-in fair is $900, Judge.
Okay. Fine. So no way, Mr. Burt, do I believe that you paid $2,000 for this van.
No, Your
do, you
Honor, I didn't.
do you understand that you agreed to pay $2,000 for this van?
Yes.
No way. Okay, because you're a businessman. And a businessman doesn't pay twice as much for something that it's worth and it's listed in that book for. So this, sir, that you handed to me, you altered. Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, you did. $2,000. Deposit $1,200. That's what you wrote here. So somebody wrote in a 1 in front of the 2 and changed the 1 to a 2. Somebody did that. Maybe it was the used car fairy or something. I don't know. Somebody did it, but not you. So don't try to pull one over on me, Mr. Burt. He should have given you your deposit back, but don't try to make money off this thing. We understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said, get off my property, harass me, or I'm going to blow your head off. Call me in
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
Now, he came to your house a couple of times for the money. Is that right?
Yes. The first time he came, I had told him it was non-refundable, and he left. He said he was going to sue me. I said, fine, do what you got to do. He came back again, and in good faith, I said, listen. I said, in good faith, we had a verbal agreement about the deposit. Said it was non-refundable. It was verbal. I said, in good faith, I'll give you half of it back when I get my disability check. He agreed to that. He said that was fine, and when I told him to come back, in about a month, I'd have it. So he showed up 2 weeks later, and that's when all this other stuff occurred.
Well, tell me about all the other stuff, sir.
Me and my fiance were pulling up in my driveway. He pulled up behind us. We were walking up to my door, and he said, I need to get all your information. I said, what do you mean information? He said, for information to sue you. I said, you have my information. You know where I live. You know my name. I said, you have all my information. There's nothing. I said, you get off my property or I'm calling the cops because you're harassing me about this $100. And he left.
Why? It's not 100, it's 200.
Yeah, I know, but we had agreed on 100.
You didn't give him the 100.
No, because I didn't have my disability check yet.
You got the money from the car.
Right.
Sir.
I paid my mortgage.
That's not his problem. And I believe that you threatened him because that's what he's going to tell me. Is that right, Mr. Burt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, I've already caught you in one lie, so let's not do it again. I want you to tell me exactly what happened the second time you went to his house and said to him, give me your information. Do you understand, Mr. Burt? I don't want you to fabricate anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
I went to Mr. Weaver's house. I seen him and his girlfriend pull in the driveway. I pulled behind him. Mr. Weaver came over to me. He says, I told you when I get my disability, I was going to give you the $100. I said, well, we need to let a judge decide what to do in this case because I shouldn't keep coming to you for a deposit.
You're absolutely right.
I said, and the reason I'm here is just to get your complete address and a telephone number so they can contact you.
Okay.
He stormed away from me. He went in the house. He came out, slammed open the screen door. He was pointing an object at me. I couldn't see what it was, but he says, get off my property, harass me, or I'm going to blow your effing head off. He called me. I got in my car. He came off the step. He threw a brick, and he did damage to my car. It went over $800, Your Honor. And I have pictures of the damage.
Well, let me
I
see.
also have a...
And I want to see the police report.
I don't
this
have
was
a
on
police report with me. I just
not?
have... The only thing that I received was a complaint from Mr. Weaver. They never gave me a police report where I filed with him.
When did you file?
I filed the same day
Where?
at Clementon Police Department.
So you left his house and went right to the police department?
Yes, ma'am, after he threw the brick.
Okay, when were you arrested, sir?
The next day, me and my fiance and a 12-year-old daughter were pulling up my driveway. She pulled in. I've known for years. He said, "Rick, I have to arrest you. Someone said you threatened them with a gun." I said, "You know me better." And I said, I hate guns. I don't even let my kids play with plastic guns."
It's not true, young.
Shh, quiet.
And he said, "Well, I have to do my job. It's coming from Kansas Superior Court, and I have to do my job." So they arrested me. Took me down, fingerprinted me. I got arrested in front of my 12-year-old future stepdaughter, which was very embarrassing and degrading. But they took me down in front of all my friends who were police officers. I'm friends with everybody in the town. Arrested me, fingerprinted me, photoed me. I had to go in a van, ride around in a van, a county van. They put me in a holding cell for 22 hours with 18 guys. The guy that was laying next to me on the floor was defecating in
I don't care. Don't go. Don't listen to me. You all could have been avoided if you gave him his $200, right? All could have been avoided if you gave him his $200. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you throw a brick at his car?
No, ma'am.
No, I don't believe you did.
No, ma'am.
I don't believe you did, but I do believe you threatened him.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, that I believe. I believe that you told him to get off or you're going to blow whatever. That I believe you did. You see what happens when you lie once, Mr. Burt? When you lie once, like this, and you hand this kind of stuff to me, then I find suspect other things that you say when it's not consistent. What is consistent is that he got annoyed with you coming around, that when you came back and you were very polite, you said to him, "I need all your information. I need your full address." He had his address. All you had to do was look up the number on the house and you see his address. You wanted a phone number. Do you need a phone number? I'm not sure you do, but you wanted his phone number. I can understand not wanting to give you the phone number because maybe he was afraid that you'd keep calling to harass him. But I do believe he threatened you. Don't believe this. Don't believe this. So I believe you have the right to go and say he threatened me. If they followed through with that, I assume you told them the whole story, then you have no case. Now, you have a counterclaim for the return of your deposit and the damage to your car. He's suing you for $3,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress for the time he spent in jail and being arrested, all of which came about because he didn't do the right thing. He, in effect, stole your money. Understand that? You stole his money. He gave you $200. You refused to give it back. He was very patient. You were treating him like a fool. And that's what happened to you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
You shouldn't have been a pig, which you were. He said, not only am I going to get $1,100 from this guy, I'm going to get another $200. It's $1,300 for the van. And the van is, according to you, got 200,000 miles, all banged up, not worth much, 13 years old, right? So here I got top dollar for this van. So you spent 2 days in jail because you were a pig. As far as you're concerned, sir, you're suing him for $2,085.12, damage to your car, which I don't believe, and return of the van deposit, which you say is $800, which I also don't believe. $200. So, you get $200, you get $200, you both get nothing. Goodbye.
Step out.
I think he should have handled it more like a man.
He pleaded his case. I had to pay $7,500 cash bail, and I spent 2 days
And
in
the
jail.
prosecutor in Camden ended up throwing it out anyway
Yeah,
because
they
it was
threw all the
based
cases
on a
thrown
lie.
out 'cause he lied on them.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Reservations agent Rosemary Harris is suing her son's former common-law wife, 25-year-old customer service rep Rebecca Cardisco, for a series of unpaid loans. Rebecca says the money was meant for her children's Christmas gifts.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 193 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Cardisco.
Thank you, Bert.
Quite welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Harris, is this your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the son that has 2 children with this lady?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for a series of loans. She and your son, I assume, lived together or were together for a period of time because, according to what I've read, they have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are your grandchildren?
3 and 1. And John also has 2 stepsons, which were Rebecca's children.
Well, they were never married.
No, but he has custody of them.
He has custody of her 2 children that are not his biological children.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have custody of all 4 children. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is wrong with you? Shh, quiet.
We're going through custody right now.
No. I could understand when you have a custody dispute involving parents, 2 biological parents, the judge has to weigh what's in a child's best interest. But when a judge, unless the judge is educated on Jupiter, gives non-biological children to not even step-parent, because the 2 of you were never married, to somebody else, there has to be something wrong with you. Do you have a drug problem, an alcohol problem?
I did, Your Honor. I did have a drug problem, and he doesn't have full custody of the children. It's going through social services.
Well, but who do they live with 5 days a week?
Right now, him.
Fine. So, and they go to school from his house?
Yes.
So right now he has custody?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you in a drug program?
Yes, I am.
Did you go into a residential program?
When I get back in town, I am.
So you are not now in a residential drug
No, but I'm
program?
in outpatient program right now.
How long were you using drugs?
For 3 years. After I had my daughter, I got in a car wreck and had a lot of back problems.
Oh, everybody has back problems when everybody becomes addicted to drugs. Okay, tell me about the loans.
Okay, basically met Becky in March of '98 when she was living with her another boyfriend in the same complex we did. They broke up and she needed a place to stay, and she finagled her way into my house and lived with us for a couple months, and then her and John started a relationship. Then the first grandchild was born in 9 of 99, and from that point on, it started being just a big con. Every couple months, every couple weeks, she needed this, or needed that, or needed help with this. Then they broke up for a while, and she had her own apartment and would hold the baby almost hostage. If you want to see your granddaughter, you'll give me this. She had a car wreck in 11 of 99, and that's when she got her back hurt and started taking Vicodin and Zoma and got addicted to them. And then she got pregnant again with my second granddaughter and had her...
Also no testament to his good judgment.
Yes.
Okay.
And she was born in March of 2001.
Now, when she lived with you, she also lived with you with her other 2 children.
Yes, ma'am. I supported her and her 2 children then. And then, after the second baby was born, she really got deep into the drugs. She, at one point, had 8 drug felonies on her. 2 of them were where she used my name to get the drugs. And she was actually able to con her way out of those charges. She got something called drug court, where she gets to go in and talk to somebody once a week. And
at what point did they remove the children?
In May of this year.
Were either of the girls born with any sort of drugs in their system?
No, ma'am.
Were either of them tested?
No, ma'am, so there's no way to know for sure.
Where does your son live now, Miss Harris?
My son lives in Fort Collins with the children, and I travel there every day to help him with the children.
Stand up. Who takes care of the children?
Oh, I do. My mother helps.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
Construction.
How do you support yourself?
Right now, I don't have a place to live. That's why when I go back, I'm going into treatment.
How do you expect her to give you any money?
In July of this year, Becky claims she got a $50,000 insurance settlement. She went out and bought a new car.
No,
Did you?
No, I didn't. My grandmother.
Did you get any money?
My grandmother gave me a couple thousand to get me a car so I could get a job.
Or what'd you do with the car?
It broke down.
Did you ever tell Miss Harris that you got a settlement for something?
I did tell her I'd gotten some money and that I would give her some. I did tell her that. But I didn't have any. And as far as...
You didn't have any what?
I didn't have any money.
So what you told her was a lie?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much money do you owe her?
I do owe her money. She did give me money for Christmas. I'm not going to say I don't owe her anything, because I do.
So I'm asking, how much do you owe her?
I don't know for sure. I mean,
how much does she owe you for Christmas?
For Christmas alone, $800. But prior to that, I gave her $500 for rent in November, $500 again rent for January and February, and I even had to take loans out from where I worked for me to survive because I was
Did you
giving her
expect to
money.
get that money back?
Yes,
Ms.
I
Harris,
did.
my question is, seriously, did you expect to get that money back from her? And I mean, you can get a judgment, but I'm going to ask you honestly.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you
Because
get the
would,
money from?
she would actually sit there on the phone in front of me and be talking to the insurance guy. I actually sat there talking to him, but she actually wasn't talking to him. And she was having a conversation with nobody. Yes, I'll come down and get that check. At one point, I mean, several times she was supposed to pick up a check. She had John and I believing she got a $50,000 check. She was throwing money around. She went and got a $150 perm. She gave me a $100 bill one time to thank me for watching her kids because she'd been out of the house for almost 3 months. I actually thought she was getting a settlement. Then I find this letter in the house. She settled for next to nothing in November of 2000.
Let me see.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I know. What? You're doing drugs. You need some money for drugs. Nonsense. Nonsense.
And later today,
If she's the co-signer on a note for your car, then you're supposed to pay for the car.
right, which I pay her for.
Let's go slowly, Mr. Gaffney. My father didn't raise idiots.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosemary Harris says her son's former common-law wife, Rebecca Cardisco, owes for several unpaid loans. Rosemary claims Rebecca is a drug addict.
So you settled this accident claim despite the fact that you had an attorney. How much did you settle it for?
I think it was around $800. The attorney said that they couldn't get any more, and if they could, it was going to take a long while.
You didn't tell them that you were settling it. You just wanted the money right away.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I know. That's what you did. You had a lawyer. They got fed up with you because you settled with this company after they had made some expenditures. What? You're doing drugs. You need some money. You need some money for drugs. Look, as far as I can see, she owes you 3 months' rent and $800 for Christmas. She doesn't know how much she owes you. That's $2,300. Has she, I assume, not given you any child support for the 3 children?
Not as of yet, no.
Have you worked in the last 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor, he did receive child support last month.
How much?
I gave him $500.
From where?
Between him and his mother.
From where?
I got some money from my grandmother.
From your grandmother?
She gave me some money to give him for the children. He said that he needed it for the children. And I have a
Do
job.
you use drugs or do you sell them occasionally?
I don't do either. I've been clean.
Judge, there is a judgment now. She's supposed to pay $575 a month.
Good. That's what she's supposed supposed to do. Somebody else is taking care of your children. In the meantime, she owes you $2,300. Miss Cardisco, I wish you good luck in residential treatment. If you want it to be successful, you have to stay there. You can't go in there for 6 weeks, or for 4 weeks, or for 12 weeks and say it's over. You have to stay there. What is it, a year or 18 months? Is that what they want you to stay?
60 days. 60 days.
Nonsense! Nonsense! Bert and I were in family court between us for more years than you're alive. And no residential program where you just go for 60 days is going to keep you off drugs permanently. You have to go into a drug-free environment for a long time. You've been on drugs for at least 3 years. Don't kid yourself. 60 days is not going to do it. 30 days is not going to do it. You have to do it. You have children. You made children. They need you. Do you get it? They need you. Stay with it. Find the right place and stay there. You're a young woman. How old?
25.
25. Got a lot of years ahead. They can be miserable. You can have a miserable life or you can have a happy life. You still have another 50 years of happiness. You have 50 years of misery. Choice is yours. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Becky's not really con.
I do have problems I have issues with. They're not any better than I am. Any better.
I'm the primary caregiver because Becky's a drug addict.
I never kept her grandchildren from her. I was afraid she was going to try to take off or do something with them. I didn't know what she's capable of. I mean, she just made me look like an idiot in there.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Griffin versus Harris. Step forward, please.
Sales rep Aaron Griffin is suing his ex-girlfriend, nurse's aide Darlene Harris, for the return of his personal property and for having him falsely arrested. Darlene says Aaron broke into her apartment.
Mr. Griffin, you are suing the defendant, who was your former girlfriend, because you say she had you falsely arrested for burglarizing her property, when what you were actually trying to do was to get some of your stuff out because she had thrown you out. Ms. Harris said that you did in fact break in and all the property that you wanted belonged to her. Is that right?
Right.
Were you living together?
I had my own home.
Is that right?
No, he was living in my house.
Did he also have his own home?
Well, yes.
What was your stuff doing in her apartment?
We had decided to spend 2 weeks together. After a few days, I recognized that she didn't have some items. She didn't have a television in the bedroom. She didn't have a living room set. So I decided to move some of my belongings from my home over to her residence.
What did you move over?
I brought over my living room set, a television.
Which consisted of what?
Consisted of a cherry oak table, 8 chairs. I also brought over a 19-inch television, a portable CD player, my clothing, some dishes, glasses, silverware, and also...
She didn't have any of that stuff?
She had some of it, but incomplete sets.
She didn't have enough for you to eat off for 2 weeks?
Well, I wanted to assist, and as I said... I
wanted to assist in what?
Assist her in some of the items that she didn't have.
And so after 2 weeks, it didn't work out. What happened, Mr. Griffin?
Well, we had planned to get married, and there was an issue in that I was still married and needed to get a divorce.
That's what Miss Harris said.
Yeah.
That's what Miss Harris said. She said when you brought the 8 chairs in, she didn't know you still had 8 chairs and a wife. Okay, so what happened?
She didn't apparently want to wait until I could get a divorce. So I decided that it was time for me to move out. That Monday morning, we had one final argument, and I left, but I did leave my belongings in the residence. The argument had gotten very bitter, and I decided that it was just best if I leave at that
was
point.
smart.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Upon my return, I found that the defendant was not in her residence, and the door was locked. I did have she had given me a key when I first arrived from Texas.
But she took the key off the ring.
Right, unbeknownst to me.
How do you retrieve your articles?
Well, actually, I came in through the side window. I kind of pushed it up and climbed in.
But how do you get them? You brought over table, chairs, TVs, CDs. Where are you going to put all this stuff?
Well, I was going to place all of the items that I could carry into my vehicle.
What kind of vehicle do you have?
A Mercury Sable.
So one of those expandable Mercury Sables?
No, Your Honor. It's average size.
So you weren't planning too well.
I guess not, no.
So what happened? You crawl into the house and you open up a window, crawl into the house, and what happened next, sir?
I commenced to packing my clothing and my luggage, and the doorbell rang. And when the doorbell rang, I went to the door thinking it was the defendant.
It wasn't the defendant, it was the...
Police. Right. It was the police upon me opening the door, but I thought it was the defendant.
Okay, what you thought was irrelevant.
Okay.
Okay, so you opened the door and it was the police. Go ahead.
Right. They asked me what my name was. I said Aaron Griffin. They said, you're now under arrest, and they charged me with burglary. The defendant indicated that she didn't know me. that I had
Really?
broken in.
Just a second. Did you tell the police you know him?
No, I never told. No,
You told him to call his wife. She knows him.
very well.
Were you there when she said she didn't know you?
They were actually leading me down the stairs of the porch, and she was standing in front of the house with the police.
Yes.
Said she didn't know me, that I had broken in.
That's pretty nasty, isn't it?
I never said that. I never said that.
Okay, so let's talk about this report that you made to the police. Tell me about that.
I was coming up my street with my sister-in-law, and I saw his vehicle in my driveway. Shouldn't have been in my driveway because I had taken the key off the key ring. I was scared. We had an argument, you know, and I was.
So you called the police?
I called the police, and they met me at my house. They saw the window, and they arrested him.
They saw the window what?
It was broken.
How was it broken? The glass was broken?
Yes.
Did you break the glass?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you've left that out. You said you just pushed the window up a little bit. So you broke the window to get in?
Yes, I did.
That's not false arrest. You can't do that. It's not your house. You can't break a window to get in. So that takes care of your false arrest charge. Now you want all your furniture back.
Yes, I do.
Table, 8 chairs, 19-inch television, CD, dishes. You have all that stuff?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
I put it in the trash. I got rid of it.
Oh, no, Miss Harris, listen to me. You know how I caught him in fibs? That's a fib. You want to tell me what you did with this table and 8 chairs?
That's what I did with it.
Oh,
I woke up one day and I was upset and I didn't want any reminder of him in my house, and I put that stuff out.
You put it out? Good.
Yes.
You pay for it. That was the wrong thing to do.
Well,
that was the wrong thing
we
to
were
do.
getting married and had a wife.
Listen to me. That was the wrong thing for you to do. You acted impulsively, and it was the wrong thing to do, so you have to pay for it. Hey, I don't believe that you just took it outside and threw it out. You may have given it to somebody.
Well, people in the neighborhood, I'm sure they came and took the stuff up off the curb.
Including
but
the
that's
television?
Exactly
Including the television set?
Yes.
That's fine, then you pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,250. But that's it, Mr. Griffin. That's all.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
I think that the defendant was a little dishonest as far as what occurred.
I never wanted him arrested. I just wanted him out of my house.
She really, in fact, had some feelings of scorn and wanted to retaliate.
I'm still angry and hurt, and it's just been too much.
Legal Secretary Deborah D'Amico is suing her ex-husband, disabilities advocate Darren Aquino, for the return of their son's belongings and for money owed. Darren is countersuing for legal fees.
Order. All rise.
Now it's just case number 357 on the calendar in the matter of D'Amico versus Aquino. Has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. D'Amico, the defendant is your former husband, and this must be one of your children.
This is my son, Brandon.
According to your complaint, your son Brandon was living with his father for a period of time, then came back to live with you.
Exactly.
It is your claim, one, that his father refuses to return some of his personal property, and two, that Brandon received some sort of a Social Security check, and that his father kept some of that money after he had returned to your home. Is that right?
That's true, Your Honor.
Mr. Aquino says that the things that were purchased for his son are in his home. He can come and use them whenever he wants to use them, and that he had some sort of an arrangement with his son to pay for some of that stuff, and he didn't pay for them, so Mr. Aquino kept some of his money.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. When were you divorced?
In 92, August.
How many children do you have?
3 children.
Give me their names and ages, please.
I have Nicolina, who's going to be 20, Eric, who's going to be 19 in December, and Brendan, who's 16.
Okay. When you were divorced in 1992, the children were living with whom?
With me.
For how long?
Since that time, Your Honor, I had physical custody of the children.
At this time, am I correct, according to you, the 2 of the children are living with you?
Yes, Your Honor. And the date of divorce was 93 of July. The date was incorrect.
Okay, well, I have the papers here and it's part of the file. Regardless.
It doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
Are 2 of the children currently living with you?
Eric and Brendan. Brendan left the home.
No, listen to me.
Yes.
You're not following my question. You're not receiving, you're thinking about an answer. Are 2 of the children currently living in your home?
One of the children are currently living in the home.
Who?
Eric.
Where's your daughter?
Nicolina had left, and I don't know where she went.
Your Honor.
Is Nicolina living with you?
Well, on and off, Your Honor. She's 20 years old. She's liberated. She goes back and forth.
But she was for a period of time living with her father?
Yes, until he threw her out.
Okay. Stop playing with your papers.
Your Honor.
Just a second. I ask questions,
sorry.
you answer them, then I make a decision. That's the way we go here. It's comfortable for me. I'm
Okay.
used to routine. All right. Now, when did Brendan go and live with his father?
The end of June 2001.
And when did he return to your house?
June 2002.
Why did he leave your house?
He had an argument with me. At the time, I was imposing a curfew.
He had an argument with you.
Right.
Went to his father. What kind of Social Security check does Brendan get?
Well, the father receives Social Security disability, and Brendan gets a stipend from the government based on Darren's record.
What's the nature of your disability? Is it a physiological disability
it's
or a
physical,
psych?
Yeah, it's
or
a multiple physical, Your Honor.
Multiple physical?
Yes.
How long have you been on disability?
Since 1987.
Okay. What things do you claim that are in your former husband's house that belongs to your son?
The main items were TV, VCR, PlayStation.
TV, VCR, what else?
Several electronic games, all his clothing, all his shoes, which I have a list of, Your Honor, right here.
But there was a TV, was a VCR, and was a PlayStation that you took to your father's house?
Yes.
And are they still at your father's house?
Correct.
Why?
Why? Well, Your Honor, he left that house in a very bad way. He was thrown out at 4:30 in the morning by her. We had to go pick him up. He didn't speak with her for 6 months.
Mr. Aquino, listen to me carefully, sir. Are there any items that you have in your home that you personally purchased for your son after June of 2001 when he was living with you?
Oh, sure.
What?
I have PlayStation 2, is it?
Just a second. PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Is that correct? What else?
Xbox.
Xbox. Is that correct? Go ahead.
Clothes from Old Navy.
Okay.
That are still brand new in the packages.
Exactly.
Listen to me.
Yes.
5 days from today's date, all of his property, so far with the extension of PlayStation 2 and Xbox, are to be quiet, are to be packed in a box. That all quiet. That all goes back to your son. Now, I will give you 30 seconds to convince me that that is not going to happen.
Okay, Your Honor, there is lots of complications at that household. Many of the children have had abusive treatment by the mother.
Care. Mr. Aquino,
Your Honor.
pay careful attention, sir. Your son is 16 years old.
That is correct.
Which means he is still a minor.
That is correct.
Should you wish to contest custody
I'm
of your
doing so.
child, you're not receiving, you're speaking.
Yes, Your Honor.
Should you wish to contest custody of your child, you go to the appropriate family court. They will conduct a hearing with regard to whether or not he gets to stay where he wants to stay at age 16, whether it's not in his best interest to be with his mother. In the meantime, all of his property that he came to you with goes back to him. Keep going. I don't want to hear about abuse. I don't want to hear about
Your Honor, Your Honor, right now as we speak, an attorney is filing a document in Nassau County Family Court to restore him back to a stable lifestyle, which I set up for him. He did not go back to her in June. He went in August to visit. She's misinforming you. She's also filed other documents that are falsified, which I would like this court to consider that she made fraudulent statements to the Family Court of Queens.
Mr. Aquino, I want you to pay attention to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
I sat in the family court, the state of New York, the city of New York for many, many years. Mr.
I know.
Aquino.
That's why I was
So
confident
I'm
here today.
telling you, and I'm going to tell it to you, for the moment at least, without your son here. Wait outside. Wait outside. Fast! Fast! I have things to do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He doesn't control the money. It goes to the person who is providing him with
Which
food.
was me.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No.
Yes, he lived with me.
Mr. Aquino, he didn't live with you in September.
But he'll return very soon.
I doubt it.
I don't.
Doubt it.
I doubt it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah D'Amico says ex-husband Darren Aquino won't return their son's belongings. Deborah also claims Darren has been withholding money from their son.
Now, one of the problems when you deal with 16-year-olds is they're very mobile. They get to go where they want to go.
Yes.
Usually when a child is over the age of 12, a family court judge in hearing a petition for custody is going to make a determination that, yes, it may be true that you present the more stable home for this child. However, if he says to the judge, there's no way that I want to go and stay with my father. I want to stay with my mother for whatever reason. And the judge is going to say, listen, what am I going to do? He's 16 years old. He can get on a bus. He can get on a train. He can take off. Where am I going to put him? So before you spend a whole bunch of money, you might be as well served if you got into some family counseling with him to try to resolve some of whatever problems exist. Because sometimes it's an exercise in futility to try to tell a 16-year-old where to live.
I understand.
Not going to happen. In the meantime, it doesn't serve you well to keep this stuff as sort of ransom because it makes your son angry with you.
Yes,
It's
Your Honor.
not a good idea. Forget about his mother. I don't know if she's good or bad or a good mother or a bad mother or psycho or not. I don't know. All I'm telling you is you have a child
Absolutely.
who right now is mad at you because you have his TV, you have his Nintendo, you have his PlayStation, all stupid things. Stupid things, but he's angry with you for that. And if you want to open a dialogue, you're smarter not to be stubborn and say, here, you want it? These are just things. All right, now I'm going to let you speak.
Your Honor, the reason I kept those things is because it was not settled that he's there. In my fight to get him back, because of the complications with the new fella in her life, now her husband, Brendan showed to myself and to my future wife these dissatisfactions and expressed to her more than me because he bonded with her as a second mother figure, which is good. It's good, okay? My concern is that these things that she shows him with the counseling, Your Honor, I've suggested that, she would interfere.
Your Honor.
She told Judge of the family court, who you probably know. He got up. I've never seen a judge get up in rage with veins popping, yelling at her to shut up, that he makes the rules.
That is not
she
true.
interferes.
This man has taken me to court in 20 years.
Your
Your
Honor,
Honor, I must say this because I've
she's
been
cutting me
carrying
off
it
as
for 20
usual.
years. This man has made false allegations, has used the judicial system to work for his benefit. He makes people lie for him. I am an upright citizen, a good mother. I've been taking care of my children since I'm divorced. And I have been supporting them since. The man doesn't even pay child support. He is a loser, Your Honor. And the man is making up lies here, and he's telling you this like it's so, and it's not true.
Mr. Miko, what I'm telling you is, if you listen, I said, I don't care any of this stuff he's giving me. I'm telling him he's got to return the stuff.
I am so glad you did that.
Period.
I am so
End of discussion.
honored.
Because Mr. Aquino, it's not the right thing to do
Yes, Your Honor.
to further alienate your 16-year-old by keeping property that he deems his. Now let's move on. That's finished. Let's move on to the second part of it, which is $391 a month. I am assuming, because I'm not going into this, that
was a recent increase, Your Honor.
Whatever it is. You acknowledge that you kept some of his money because you say the last insurance benefit I received, it's not insurance, Mr. Aquino, it's my money. It's Bird's money that we paid to support you because you're disabled.
No, it's my money that I paid into the fund.
How old were you in 1987?
28, I think.
28? And you've been collecting now for 15 years. So you've been collecting more than you worked, and you're going to collect for another 20 or 30 years. Believe me, it's not your money you put into the fund, it's Bird's money.
Thank you.
You say thank you.
So,
You misused that
Mr.
money.
Aquino,
Yes,
pay
Your
attention
Honor.
to me. Believe me, I've been around the block longer than you have, Mr. Aquino.
Yes, Your Honor.
Trust me. So, it's not insurance money.
No, ma'am.
It's Bird's money that went to your son that you kept, and you kept at a time when he wasn't living with you because you
Not
acknowledge
so.
that.
Not so, Your Honor.
No, that's what you
no,
said.
No. He
what you
took
said.
it in advance, Your Honor, to buy those sets. He said, Dad, can I have this money to buy the box? And
Just a
all
second.
the
Shh. I want you to be quiet. I got you now. Let me see. So what you're saying is he took... Quiet, Mr. Aquino.
I can't tell you so quiet.
Mr. Aquino, what you're saying to me, sir, is that your son took an advance on his Social Security disability payment.
My Social Security disability
His.
payment. His beneficiary payment.
Bird's money. So that he could buy a PlayStation 2 and other electronic games.
And
Wrong! Wrong! Absolutely wrong. Listen to me, sir. If you, as his parent, choose to purchase electronic games for him, you don't make the choice unless it's out of your money. Now, if he's living with you, and because you say, well, you're going to get a check net, Mr. Aquino, I'm 10 steps ahead of you, sir, because there may be something physiologically wrong with you, but there's nothing psychologically wrong with you,
That is
except you're a little
correct.
bit of a hustler. And when you say to me, quiet, and when you say to me he took an advance so that after he moved out, I kept that money, I'm telling you that that's a hustle. Now, he moved out according to you in August.
That's
According
correct.
to his mother in June, according to you in August. Did you keep August's benefit?
August benefit went to her.
Your Honor, I got copies of the 2 checks
Can I
that
see
I
it,
got.
please?
I got statements to Social Security, too, of the misuse
These
of
are
the
the 2
funds
checks
that
that I
she's
did
had. Okay?
receive since Brendan has been back with me.
Brendan has never received any use of his money while in Deborah's care.
Just a second, he's not supposed to get the money, Mr.
It's for the
Aquino.
parent to use.
It's not for the parents to use.
Quiet. Quiet. He is not supposed to get the money, Mr. Aquino.
At an age.
He's not supposed to get the...
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
He's not supposed to get the money, Mr. Aquino, until he reaches his majority. At 16, he is still a minor, which is why you can go to the family court to try to get custody of him, because he's still a minor. He doesn't control the money. It goes to the person who is providing him with
Which
food.
was me.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No.
Yes. He lived with me. What do you mean he lived with us?
Mr. Aquino, he didn't live with you in September. He didn't live with you in August.
Of what year?
2002.
No, he did not. But he'll return very soon.
I doubt it.
I don't.
doubt it.
I doubt it.
I doubt
When
it.
they see the fraud that she committed in the courts,
I doubt it.
I don't doubt it. You filed a
I'm
false
talking-
document in Supreme Court.
You received August check for 2002?
It
That's what
indicates
said.
on the check I received
August 2000 to me. You have August and you have October. And I don't. You had better find out from them what happened for September because they skipped
They're
September.
a month behind. You get the previous month. when
I
they
don't
send
want
it
you to
you.
interrupt me again. You may interrupt her. You don't interrupt me.
You're
Trying to explain
No,
the checks and
don't
how they
explain
come.
anything. Don't
I'll
explain
tell you
anything.
what
They're my
happened.
bad.
I'm not
I'll explain how they
interested.
come.
Pay attention.
Let me make that
You have
clear.
August, and according to you, you have October. You go to them and find out where September
They
is.
told me they reissued it back to Darren because he
Wasn't
went to
reissued.
the
Show me proof. Show me proof.
Well,
that
I
they
don't have
reissued
proof.
to
I
him.
only have proof that I applied 2 times to be payee within the course of the past several months. I can show you that, Your Honor.
Just a second. Mr. Aquino, you've been sworn today, and you testifying, sir, under oath, that you did not receive September's check for your
September's
son.
check. I didn't receive September's check. Did it come into the... She does it. It goes into a direct deposit.
Just a second. Did you receive September's check?
No, Your Honor.
Did you receive a check in October?
No, Your Honor.
You have not received a check since August.
Correct.
I have maybe a possibility why that is, Judge.
I don't care why it is. You said that you did not receive it.
That is
Your
correct.
fiance said it did not come in. That's under oath. They're easy to get a
I
tape.
have letters here indicating that he was changed, the payee was changed to his
Listen to
name
me very-
again. So he would have had to have gotten the check somehow, either by direct deposit or the mail, Your Honor. I have
They're
2 notices
suspending
here
the
from
check
Social Security.
because of the problems
No,
with
they're
Debbie.
not. No,
And
listen
my
Listen to me, Mr.
contact with
Aquino.
Laura. Yes.
All I'm saying to you is, and I want you to be quiet and stop moving from side to side, sir.
I have a limp, so I
No,
can't
You're
sit.
nervous because you're hustling me a little
No,
bit.
I'm not hustling
Okay?
you, Your
You're
Honor.
nervous because you're
I wouldn't
hustling me a
hustle you.
little
You're
bit.
too sharp.
Your Honor,
You're
please
too
look at
sharp.
these.
Right.
Your Honor.
Listen,
These
I'm
two
going
are-
to throw you both out.
I'm sorry, Your
I'm
Honor.
throwing you both out. Now, 5 days from today, you are to get all of the property packed up. You make arrangements to have it picked up by a third party, a mover or whatever. With regard to the money, take it up with Social Security. Now, let's get to your counterclaim, which is nonsense. Mr.
Nonsense?
Aquino, it
Why
is
you
your
say
claim.
it's
It is your
nonsense,
claim. Shh, quiet. You say that you paid legal fees for your son Eric when he was in trouble last year. Is
No,
that right?
Eric was 18. It's for a charge when he was 16.
Yeah.
While he was living in her care,
Yeah.
that these things were concealed from me. And then at the end, she dumps him on my lap and says, now you take care of it. Take care of what? I said. I supported him. We have an obligation under the court, Your Honor.
What is it that you paid for him?
$3,000. We assigned it over to Anthony. You probably know the name. As Eric's counsel.
Who hired lawyer?
She asked me to go and call my friend Anthony.
No, just a second. She asked you to go and call your friend,
Right.
who was a lawyer.
We were going to have legal
No,
aid for him. Yes.
And you did that.
Yes. And she also met me at the court.
Don't volunteer. Just answer my questions. Where did you get $3,000 from?
I'll let Stephanie answer that.
No,
Stephanie-
I don't want Stephanie to answer it. I want you to answer it.
Okay. Stephanie took it out of her IRA.
Should have let legal aid represent himself.
That's what I said.
That ain't what she said.
Absolutely.
She pleaded with
Okay.
me and cried.
This case is resolved as follows. 5 days from today's date, all the property is to be returned to your son. It's very unfortunate that you can't put a period to the end of all of this heartache and
I'd
say,
like to.
shh, and say, for the sake of all the children and maybe grandchildren to come, we're going to get along here. Maybe we should all get together and try to be cooperative and try to work together as a family. That's not going to happen.
That would be wonderful. but
Good.
that's
Give
a
him back his
fantasy with
stuff, and that's it. Goodbye.
Parties are
you, Your Honor.
excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're dealing with a person that, you know, that's it's a little bit crazy.
All you hear is her anger and her bitterness, and she reflects that to the children.
I don't regret my children, but I regret ever marrying the fellow.
She kicked them to the curb like they were, animals.
It's been a tragic 20 years dealing with him.
Antique store owner Rebecca Watson is suing her ex-lover, truck driver Larry Martinez, for unpaid loans and for money invested in his business.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, case number 372 on the calendar in the matter of Watson versus Martinez. President sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Watson, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $1,400 for a couple of things. To bring his daughter for a visit and then to help pay his mortgage. In addition to that, you claim that he defrauded you out of $500 for some sort of an investment. You want that money back. You want a total of $1,900. Mr. Martinez says that he did in fact take some money from you, but that money was a gift, that you insisted upon giving it to him because he had fallen on some difficult financial times, and that the $500 investment that you made in his business was just that, an investment that didn't work out, and you lost your money. How do you know him?
We met at a charity ball, and I met him during a function.
When?
I believe December of 2000.
When did you first give him money?
July of 2001.
What kind of relationship did you have with him between December of 2000 and July of 2001?
We were involved very closely in that we were friends and intimately associated.
You considered yourself his female friend?
Yes.
Now tell me about the first loan.
The largest loan was $1,000 because he was behind on a mortgage payment.
Tell me about it.
Well, I just felt sorry for him and went ahead and told him that he begged me for the money, and I told him.
Tell me. Let's start from the beginning. He came to you. You were out for dinner. You were at someplace. He said to you, "I'm behind in my mortgage." I want to know exactly how it came about.
He had been telling me along that he had had some money problems, and his girlfriend wasn't able to help him with his money problems, and that she was taking a lot of money.
So he had a girlfriend?
Yes, he has a girlfriend.
Well, what was he doing with you if he had a girlfriend?
Well, we were just really more friends than anything else, and I would give him a lot of advice, and our relationship was in that he's a truck driver. We'd talk over the phone a lot, and it was over the phone that he told me that really where he needed the money. So it wasn't over dinner or anything.
Go ahead.
And so I did have the money wired or electronically transferred.
I want you to tell me about it.
Oh, about our relationship?
No, about the $1,000, madam.
The $1,000, I did go ahead and have it wired.
I believe that you gave him $1,000. I want to know the circumstances surrounding you giving him the $1,000.
Well, I loaned him the $1,000.
That's what you say.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, since I'm not getting it from you, I'm going to go to Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez, she gave you $1,000. Tell me how that came about, sir.
She wired it to my account. She took $1,000, gave it to me. I told her I needed some help with the bills, and
She told you needed help with the bills.
I said I'm behind. She was away. I was by myself. So I needed some money. I didn't have no help. She offered to help.
What did she say?
She says if you need
Don't look at me.
If you need some money, I have money, and if you need to borrow some or whatever, it's here for you if you need it.
Good. And you said I need to borrow it.
I need about $1,000 to pay my bills.
So she sent you the money. So why didn't you pay it?
At that time, I didn't have any money.
That doesn't mean that it's not a loan, sir. That means that you didn't have the money then to pay her back.
Didn't have the money to pay her back and couldn't pay her back.
That doesn't mean it wasn't a loan.
Well, if it was a loan, I would have had to sign some kind of receipt or some kind of paperwork saying that, hey, you know.
You just told me you borrowed the money from her. You used that word. I asked her if I could borrow some money from her.
Okay. Maybe I should use a different word then.
That's not, maybe you should have, but that's the word that you used.
Okay. I took the $1,000 from
You
her.
borrowed it.
Okay.
And you didn't have money to pay her back. That doesn't mean you don't owe it to her. What's next?
Well, Your Honor, the reason...
I didn't ask. I said, what's next? $1,000 I have. Hello?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I thought you I think the reason he didn't have the $1,000...
I don't care what the reason is.
Yes,
why he didn't have the $1,000. He owes you so far $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
What's
What
next?
else? Well, there was $500 for the investment.
I don't care about the investment. You were dumb enough to give him $500 for an investment. That's your problem. Let's
Yes,
go to the
ma'am.
next thing.
I think he didn't have the money because Michelle wasn't there to give it to him. Okay. Michelle was
Are you
in
finished?
jail.
Are you finished with the $1,000?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
all he owes you? $1,000?
No, ma'am.
Then I want you to get to it. I didn't ask you anything else.
All right. There's the $500 in the e-toys.
Just a second, Miss Watson.
Yes.
You're not paying attention to me.
I'm sorry.
I told you, if you were dumb enough to give him invest in a business for $500 with him, and he didn't have enough money to pay his own rent, you don't get that money back.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't. Good. Now, so far, he has admitted reluctantly to owing you $1,000. Does he owe you any more money?
Yes, ma'am, he does. But he is
You
such a...
want to get to it.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it? What was it for? When did you give it to him?
He is such a scoundrel that...
That's it. I'm finished with you, Miss Watson. I'm finished with you. I asked you a simple question. The simple question is, we got to the $1,000. He owes you the $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
He doesn't owe you $500 that you invested with him. Is there any other money that he owes you? What you have to say is yes, how much it was, what you gave it to him for. If you're not going to answer that question directly, Miss Watson, I'm going to give you an award of $1,000 and say goodbye. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do. He does owe me another $900.
No, he doesn't. You want to tell me what the $900 is for?
I do have documentation on monies that were given to him when he did ask me for loans, and I do have FYI when I did fax him the information. And
Miss Watson, is there something wrong with you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You invested in a bad deal. Period. End of discussion. That leaves $400 left, not $900. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And later today,
I don't remember getting hit. I got hit 3 times, actually.
Started drinking some liquor, then you started wilding.
Started what?
Wilding.
What is that?
Acting crazy.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rebecca Watson says former lover Larry Martinez owes for a series of loans and for an investment she made in his business.
Your lawsuit is for $1,900.
Yes, ma'am.
$1,000 loan. Something for a plane ticket or something to bring his daughter out.
That's
and then
correct.
Quiet! And then $500 that you say you invested with him. I've already told you I'm discounting the $500. He does not owe you the $500. You invested in a bad deal. Period. End of discussion. That leaves $400 left, not $900. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what was the other $400 for?
The other $400 was in petty cash and plane ticket that he needed to.
I'm not interested in petty cash.
Get his daughter.
I'm not
back
interested
to New
in
York.
petty cash. What was the plane ticket?
The plane ticket was about $300.
What do you mean about $300?
It was $300 because I gave him
Show me.
$100 for being
Show
able
me.
to get in the airport.
Show me the $300 plane ticket. Show me where it was. Where did you buy the $300 plane ticket?
No, I gave him the money as a loan because he needed to get his daughter from New York.
How much was the plane ticket to get your daughter from New York to wherever?
About $250. That has nothing to do with the money that she gave me. Was $1,000 towards my bills. That money came out of my pocket for the plane ticket.
So she didn't give you $250. Do you have any evidence that you put that plane ticket on your credit card?
No, ma'am.
Good. So you had $1,000, Miss Watson. That's it, period. That's what you say you owe her? That's what you borrowed. Is that right? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There were, times that she was in jail and she was gone and not able to be with me. I didn't know all this at the time. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend.
Well, I was away at a cat play.
Larry is a real scoundrel, and he's got a woman at every court.
I thought she was my friend, and she was cheating on me. Both of them.
You learn from your mistakes. I'm not going to be doing that anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Batiste versus Franquitos. Step forward, please.
Sports attire salesman Edgar Batiste is suing former friend, 24-year-old bartender Alicia Franquito, for selling him bogus airline tickets.
Mr. Batiste,
Good evening, Your Honor.
according to your complaint, sir, you purchased some buddy airline tickets from the defendant. I don't know what these are. You're going to explain that to me. And according to you, you didn't get what you paid for. You want your money back. And it says you don't get your money back. This was a final sale. So first, you want to tell me what a buddy ticket is, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I purchased 3 buddy passes from Alicia Franquito.
Could you keep your voice up? I want you to tell me what they are. I've just told you. They're buddy passes.
Yes.
What are they?
They're airline travel tickets.
I never heard of that. Can I see what they look like?
Can I explain it to you?
Sure.
Basically, if someone works for an airline, they can give free tickets to people, and I had bought them from a friend who knows the person who works for the airline.
Just a minute. So the airline give to their employees free tickets.
Yes.
That they can use like a companion ticket?
Yes.
So that the airline employee can take a companion with them to go someplace.
Or they can just give them away to people to use.
But they're not supposed to sell them.
Right.
They're not supposed to sell them.
Exactly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Batiste, well, it says right here that this can't be sold, right? Did you read that?
No, I didn't at the time, Your Honor. I didn't.
Well, you know it could be sold or bought. You know that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
In any event, the reason you want your money back is because they told you that you had to pay a certain amount of money in addition to these tickets to
Yes,
travel?
ma'am.
And the person you sold them to somebody else.
Some friends were supposed to travel.
You sold them to somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
And the person you sold them to said, I want my money back because it says that I have to give them more money to use these tickets, according to your complaint. And now you want your money back from her. And she should get her money back from the person she bought them from. Right?
Yes.
So am I correct that this is a whole little scam? Somebody works for the airlines, gets free tickets, and then they start selling them. How much did you pay for them?
40.
You paid 40. You sold them to him for 175 apiece. Right? Shh. And how much did you sell them for?
My friends paid me $175 each, Your Honor.
So you were even.
And I paid her. Yes, ma'am.
Give those back to him, please. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Mr. Batiste, I'm going to tell you what the law is, what we call the doctrine of clean hands. That means that when you come into a court of law and ask a court to give you justice, you have to come in with clean hands, not having done anything wrong with regard to the particular events surrounding the case. You did something wrong. So did she. You did something wrong by buying black market tickets. She did something wrong by buying black market tickets. So do you know what courts say to folks like you who did something wrong? They tell you to get out. They say, don't waste our time. We're not interested in trying to help people who are doing the wrong thing. We have enough time to spend trying to help people who are doing the right thing and getting screwed. We don't try to help people who you screw a little bit, she screws a little bit, and then you come into court and say, please help me because I was screwed more than her. We don't have time for that. Goodbye, Mr. Batiste.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I sort of expected this decision.
I expected it.
My buddies gave me the money. They're out of the money. I'm out of a little money myself.
I don't know. I just knew I shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Next time I will do my ticket buying through an internet service.
Homemaker Jackie Brency is suing the mother of her daughter's schoolmate, correctional officer Jacqueline Griffin. Jackie claims Jacqueline's son, 10-year-old Donald, broke her daughter's nose in a fight.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 410 on the calendar in the matter of Brenzy versus Griffin. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Young people, have seats.
All right, let's talk very briefly. You two moms don't know anything about what happened at school on the day of this incident when your daughter's nose was broken. But it is your claim that the defendant's son assaulted your daughter, broke her nose, and you want to be compensated for the unreimbursed medical bills that you sustained.
That's correct.
Mrs. Griffin says that her son was merely defending himself, that your daughter started the fight, and she is not responsible. Correct? So why don't you two ladies sit down, and I'm going to see these two young people right up here. What's your first name?
Kiara.
And yours?
Donald.
I'm going to start with Donald. Now, Donald, you know that you punched Kiara in the face, right?
Yes,
and her nose, according to her mother, was broken. So I want you to tell me why you did that.
I got to school that morning, and the kids had came up and said, Kiara called your mom a low-down dirty. Okay.
Okay. So somebody came up to you and told you
Yes, ma'am.
that Kiara had called your mom a nasty name.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do?
Okay, Kiara, she was on a field trip, and she came back, and I guess the kids had already told her. And we was,
Okay. Were you on a field trip that day?
Yes, I was.
Did you have a conversation with somebody when you came back from the field trip?
Yes, I did.
Who did you have a conversation with?
My friend that I was standing next to.
What's your friend's name?
Tony.
And what was the conversation about with Tony?
We were talking about things that we were going to do in the playground, not about me calling his mother a name.
Well, let me ask you this question. Why would you call his mother a name?
I don't know, but I didn't.
Didn't say anything bad about his mother?
No, ma'am.
Well, what happened after you had this conversation with this gal who was telling you about these bad things that she was saying about your mom?
It was around lunchtime, okay? I guess she had already came back, and it's a breezeway that you walk down and go to the playground. And I walked up to Kiara, and I asked her, and then she kicked me, and she said, I didn't say nothing about your mom, and then I punched her in the face.
So what you're saying is she kicked you first?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did she kick you?
In the groin area. Tried to.
She what?
She tried to kick me in my groin area.
But she didn't kick you?
She kicked me, but I had blocked it so she could not
kick you
in this spot.
Okay, so she kicked in your direction, but you didn't come together.
She kicked, but I blocked it. Okay. Okay, and so then I punched her, and she had a jump rope. It's red, white, and blue. Okay, like the American flag. And she hit me in the head with it. And then by that time, we just started fighting. And then Miss Porter, she saw the fight. And then by that time, she came, took us to the office. And then Kiara's mom came, and then they went in the office.
Donald says that you tried to kick him. Is that true?
Yes, it is true, but I did not kick him.
But you tried to kick him. Why did you try to kick him?
That was after the fact of the fight, not when the fight started.
Well, you tell me now, Kiara, how the fight started.
He came to me and said, "What'd you call my mama?" And I said, "I didn't call your mama nothing." And then he pushed me, and I pushed him back.
He pushed you? How did he push you?
Real hard, like this, pushing me back or something, and up against the wall. And I pushed him back, and then he came in my face. He grabbed my hair, pulling my hair down, and then pushed me in my face, just on one side of my face. Then he started punching me in my nose about 10 times, I should say. And then Shayla went to go get a teacher, and he ran off to the playground like nothing happened.
Had you ever had trouble with Donald before?
No, ma'am.
Had you ever had trouble with Kiara before?
No, ma'am.
Well, maybe this other young girl who was telling you the stories was just making things up. Is that possible?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why would you believe her?
I went to her and asked her, and she kicked me, and then I pushed her.
I don't believe that. No, Donald.
I went to her and asked her.
No, Donald. I don't believe that you asked her, and in response to your asking her, she kicked you.
Yes.
Don't believe that, Donald. Doesn't sound right to me. Doesn't sound right to me, Donald. It sounds like a good story you might tell your mother, but it doesn't sound truthful to me. Have you ever had trouble scrapping in school before? What are you looking up for? You're not that old that you have to remember.
One boy. With a boy? Yeah.
Once before.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you lose your temper?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened to you in school when you lost your temper?
We started fighting on the playground.
How many fights have you had in school?
None.
Didn't think so. So, Donald,
Ma'am.
you see how you know how to be a polite young man?
Yes, ma'am.
You got to carry that over to the outside world, Donald. Understand, Mrs. Griffin? He wasn't telling you the truth. She didn't kick him first. He got angry. And he got angry, Mrs. Griffin, because somebody told him that she had called you a bad name.
May I?
Sure. Go ahead.
I really don't know exactly what went on in this incident, but prior to this, the kids were calling one another. They supposedly were secretly liking each other. This child called my house numerous times.
So?
They liked each other, so I figured it was just a little disagreement between maybe a little girlfriend and boyfriend, and that's how it started. I don't really know how it went.
All right, Miss Griffin, let me go back a second. What I don't want you to do is to make excuses for Donald.
Oh, no, there's no excuse.
Okay.
None.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know how many hours your mother has to work for $175?
12.
A little bit more than that.
She has to work a long time to get that money, Donald. So you not only owe her an apology, you also owe your mother an apology. You start with her.
And later today,
Your son is an alcoholic. He's not providing for his family. She has a baby and 2 other children, and you're suing her for a deep freeze? Where is your brain?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jackie Breamsey says 10-year-old Donald Griffin punched her daughter in the face, breaking her nose. Donald says she called his mom a bad name.
All right, Miss Griffin. Donald was told by someone, a gossip, that this young lady said something bad about you. Now, she says she didn't say it, so that could have been just a troublemaker.
That's true.
But your son has a short fuse, because he's been in trouble for fighting before. And what he would naturally do is not go over to Kiera and have just a discussion with her. He would be angry. Doesn't strike me as being logical that if he went over to her and said, "Did you call my mommy a name?" and her response would be to kick him in the groin. That doesn't sound logical to me. What sounds logical is he might have said to her, "Did you call my mommy a name?" And she said, "No, I didn't." And then he hit her or pushed her, put his hands on her. That's logical. And that's what happened. And it's all because he listened to somebody who was gossiping. Do you understand, Donald?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't want to spend the next few years with your mom having to come defending you in court, do you?
No, ma'am.
Because that's not pleasant for you and especially for your mother. Okay, step up, Miss Beauty. Tell me about your nose. What happened to your nose, Kiera?
It was broken. He punched me in it a lot of times.
Tell me what it felt like.
It felt like it was hurting really bad. It was getting swollen up. And
You have any pictures? See, you have some pictures. I'd like to see them. How old are you, Donald?
10.
Looks to me like you punched her in the eye, too. Did you do that, too?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Breamsey, how much were your out-of-pocket expenses? Because it's hard for me to tell. It looks like they were $165.
That's correct, and $10 for the radiologist.
You have to take care of that, Donald, which means your mother has to take care of it. Does your mother make a lot of money?
Close to. Yes, ma'am.
You think your mother... Look at your mother. You think your mother makes a lot of money?
Yes, ma'am.
You do? Miss Griffin, you make a lot of money?
I got it.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a correctional officer.
Your mother works very hard and does not make a lot of money. She doesn't have a lot of money to go around getting you out of scrapes. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're very lucky that Miss Breamsey only wants her unreimbursed medical bills, because I don't think she wants to hurt your mother. Believe me, if you were older, she'd want a lot more. You know how many hours your mother has to work for $175?
12.
A little bit more than that.
She has to work a long time to get that money, Donald.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't have money to go around to buy you out of these scrapes. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you really understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
So you not only owe her an apology, you also owe your mother an apology, because your mother's going to have to come up with this money for you. You start with her.
I'm sorry.
You mean it?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $175. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope Dawn was learned something from this. She told me that she didn't like him at all.
Never pay attention to other students. No, we're not friends, and he did like me. If they hit you, you hit them back, but you're not supposed to hit them, though.
House designer Charles Scott Wells is suing his ex-fiancée, retired banker Linda Howells, for the return of property and an engagement ring. Linda is countersuing for medical bills, plus pain and suffering due to an assault.
Order. All rise. Find the courtroom, please.
The Honor's case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of Wells versus Howells. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, ladies. Have seats, please.
Mr. Wells, according to what I've read, sir, you and the defendant had a glorious 11-year relationship. Sometimes on, sometimes off. Now it's off. It's over. But about 2 years ago, when it was over, it is your claim that Miss Howells, while you were incarcerated on some kind of domestic dispute, she stole all of your personal property. So that's the first part of your lawsuit, that you want your personal property from 2 years ago.
Yes.
Then, more recently, in 2002, you got back together again. And you claim that you proposed marriage and you gave her a ring. And then a month or so later, the relationship ended for good, so you want the ring back.
Yes.
Miss Howells says that she deserves the ring. She doesn't even address the stuff. But she says she deserves the ring after 11 years of being with you. And she's counterclaiming because she says in November, which is the date of the final breakup, that you assaulted her and she wants to be compensated for her pain and suffering, whatever medical bill she has. So I'm not going to get into what you say Miss Howells took 2 years ago. And I'm going to tell you why, sir. Have you been incarcerated for the last 2 years?
No.
Then would you like to tell me why you did not pursue this matter for 2 years?
Well, Your Honor.
I know who I am, so just tell me why.
The reason why is because we have been together and on and off so many times that I've lost count. And these things that I want are things that I bought with my own money. I've paid Ms. Howells numerous amounts of cash and dining and trips to Mexico, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been slapped in the face, and I'd like to have my things back.
Well, you should have been more vigilant, Mr. Wells. Courts are set up to deal with divorces. They're not set up to deal with almost marrieds, almost together, 11-year relationships that don't pan out. You had 2 years in which to act, you didn't. But I'm going to get to the ring for a second. Where's the ring, Miss Howells?
The ring I returned to Costco in Medford, Oregon, and gave them a picture of the attack of my right arm, and they returned the money to me.
How much money did they return?
$1,099.
That's what you owe him. $1,099. Is that what you paid for the ring, Mr. Wells?
Yes.
An engagement ring is given in anticipation of getting married. You didn't get married, you don't keep the ring or the value thereof because you returned the ring. You don't keep the cash because you feel as if you deserve it. You don't. If you're foolish enough to live with somebody who abuses you and who makes your life miserable, that's your problem. You don't get to keep the ring. So you get $1,099, sir, on your complaint. Now we're going to get to your counterclaim. I want you to tell me what happened in November when you claimed that Mr. Wells assaulted you.
Okay, Mr. Wells and I, being he was having some behavior problems, I was going to drive us to a Christian marriage counseling. It was a 2-day seminar. We tried to find the place where it was going to take place and could not find it. So we decided to just go to dinner and, and forget about it. So we went to dinner, had a couple drinks, and then on the way home, we stopped at this nightclub. It's a steakhouse nightclub. He started verbally accusing me things of looking at some guy in the bar and things like that, starting a fight. And I was having a good time. And anyway, so we get to my home and, it escalated. So we get out of the car, go in the house, and he all of a sudden just turned into a totally different person and told me that, called me some names, and then he told me he was going to kick that TV in, the big screen TV, and he was going to slap me in my face, and he was going to walk out the door and get a taxi and go home. Well, he didn't have any money. So he grabbed my phone and proceeded out the door with it. I said, give me my phone back. Anyway, he slammed it down on the cement. I said, Scott, calm down. He came back inside my home, and he just was out of control. I said, I will give you the money to take a taxi, if that's your big, thing. I go, why can't you just get along with me and we can just, work this out? Why do you have to be like this? And anyway, he grabbed my purse at one time, ran to the door, and then I ran after him and got my purse away because I had some money in it. We kind of backed up. I kind of backed to my kitchen counter, and something in my heart told me I just better make it to the door and scream because of the way he was carrying on and going out of his mind. And anyway, so I ran to the door, got the door open. I opened the door with my right hand, And he immediately, I got to scream out for help, and he immediately grabbed my right arm. It's really hard, and he covered up my mouth and dragged me to my office. It's a second bedroom I use for my office. He dragged me in there and told me the police are going to come. Oh, you know, and how much he loved me, and he just carried on. You know, please, you know, tell him I left. You know, because actually, when he grabbed me on my arm and grabbed me around my face, I thought he was going to kill me.
Okay, so he grabbed you by the arm, put his hand across your mouth and said, please don't scream because the police are going to come. Tell him I'm not here.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, so then the police came, and anyway, he hid in my closet, and they pulled him out of the closet, but he had put something in one of my shoes.
What did he put in one of your shoes?
I have the police report, Your Honor.
What did he put in your shoe?
Meth, drugs.
Drugs. So who was arrested?
He was arrested.
What about you?
Pressed charges.
What about you?
No, I went in and did a urinalysis in my bathroom. They gave me the cup, and I'm clean. You know.
What about him?
No, they took him to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm not a drug user.
So this was an isolated instance?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right.
And later today,
Your Honor, she knew I was going in the hallway.
That doesn't mean anything if she knew you were going in the hallway, Miss Davis.
Yes, Your Honor. This is how it was.
No, it wasn't. Stop making it up as you're going along.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charles Scott Wells says ex-fiancée Linda Howells owes for the return of property and an engagement ring. Linda says he bought the ring at Costco and she returned it.
All right, Mr. Wells, let's hear your version of the events of the 3rd of November, 2002.
Well, I call this the abuse of the legal system, and here's why. Ms. Howells had made a statement to her neighbor, if I'm murdered, then it's my boyfriend who did it. Well, that was early in the afternoon. Ms. Howells picks me up that evening, takes me out to dinner, takes me back to her house, goes outside, screams help, I get arrested. That's the short version of it. I mean, that's just one incident, and I've got proof right here.
I'd like to see it.
Also, Ms. Howells is sue crazy. She's got 7 lawsuits going. Here's one that's just recent, a whiplash case. That,
I'm interested in a whiplash case. Let me see proof, sir.
This from here on the second page kind of states what happened.
Why were you hiding in the closet?
The reason I was hiding in the closet is because of an incident that happened 2 years ago that was similar to this, where she had called the police, had me arrested, said that I had threatened her. I went to jail, and that's when I lost my belongings out of my house.
So is that why you were hiding? What about the drugs?
The drugs, I don't do drugs now as isolated incidents.
Just a second. What were the drugs doing in her shoe?
I had put them there.
Why?
Because when Miss Howells opened the door for the police, she said, he's hiding in the closet.
Well, what were you doing walking around with the drugs?
I was on my way.
Methamphetamine. What were you doing walking around with?
It was a foolish mistake, Your Honor. I mean, it was something I am very embarrassed about.
What did you plan to do with it, sir?
Pardon?
Are we going to frame it?
I was going to snort it.
Had you snorted any of it before?
In the past?
Yes.
No, I'm not a drug user. It's
so this was an isolated instance?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, right. Were you given a urine test when you got to the precinct?
Yes.
Is it negative or positive?
I'm not sure what the results were.
Really? All right. Let me see your injuries, please.
Okay. And here's a copy of the police report, what happened. And then there's that. My arm. And then the incident of, it was actually a year prior, November 23rd.
I'm not interested in what happened the year before. I'm not interested in this property that happened the year before. I'm not interested.
Okay.
Oh, this is a bad bruise.
Very bad. And I had a 5-hour shoulder surgery in 1997 on my shoulder.
Oh, please. I'm not interested in the year of the flood, madam.
And, Your Honor, there was no...
No, Your Honor, it caused me paralysis, his grabbing me.
Okay, right now you look just fine, but it gave you a nasty bruise.
There was no report of that when the incident happened with the police. This is all fabricated.
I tried to protect you.
You admitted to the police, sir, that you last snorted the meth earlier that evening.
Yes, I did. Your Honor, I went down the wrong path there. And
fine. Well, then what you did, sir, you went down the wrong path, and what happened is...
But the drugs have not...
Now, listen to me. You went down the wrong path, sir, and what happened when you go down the wrong path and you snort drugs earlier in the evening, your behavior changes.
Mm-hmm.
Even your memory of events change. Because what you told me happened was that she set you up that night.
She did.
That she came to take you to dinner, and she drove you home to her house, and then she ran outside and screamed for the police so that she could have you arrested. If that's really what you think, I feel sorry for you. If that's what you want me to believe, I feel sorry for me. Because it's not what happened, sir.
Well, Your Honor...
What happened is you got into an argument with her. You were behaving irrationally. You were a little bit sweaty. I don't know what your circumstance is as we stand here today, and I'm certainly not going to ask you, but I will tell you that night you were acting a little bit irrationally. She went outside and screamed for somebody to call the police, and you got busted, and you got busted for either a disturbance at her home and or the drug possession. You probably pled guilty to the drug possession. Is that a fair statement?
Well, Miss Howells was arrested for marijuana that evening.
Did you?
She was partying with me.
Did you plead guilty to the drug possession?
Yes, I did.
So that's over.
Yeah,
So that part is
I haven't tried
that part is over with. As part of what happened in the course of that evening, sir, you bruised her very badly because
No.
you didn't want to get. Oh yeah, you did.
That picture could be from anything. If she was injured, wouldn't she have told the police that night when I was arrested?
A black and blue mark like that doesn't come out 2 seconds later. It comes out. That's what happened. You grabbed her inside. Even you didn't punch her. She didn't say he punched me. He kicked me in the back. He threatened to stab me. He said you grabbed her by the arm, which you did, in order to take her inside to shut her up. You were acting irrationally. I don't think that she was seriously injured that night. I don't believe that. But I believe she was injured sufficiently enough to cost you $1,099, which is the cost of the engagement ring. So your claim is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Model Sherry Eckert is suing her ex-boyfriend, guitar player Mark Savon, for unpaid loans and rent. Mark is countersuing, claiming Sherry sabotaged his career.
Order, all rise.
Alicia. Your Honor, this is case number 380 on the calendar in the matter of Eckert versus Zavon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Eckert, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. You claim that you loaned him some money during that time and he owes you a month's rent because when he left, he didn't give you notice, and pursuant to your agreement, he should have given you a month's notice. Mr. Zavon says that he did borrow some money from you, not as much as you are claiming, and he would have paid you back, except that because of your actions, he lost his job, he had no way to pay you back, and that you kept some of his personal property, and he has a counterclaim. When did you live together? From when to when?
April 18th, 2001 to November 2nd, 2001.
Now, what were these loans for?
Actually, he was behind on some bills, and he had asked me to pay them for him, and I agreed as long as he signed something saying that he would pay me back, which he did.
Let me see what he signed.
I'd like to see that as well.
Absolutely.
It seems as though it's been changed.
It has been changed to less than it was.
Okay.
If you look very carefully, it's been changed to, I looked at that myself. It's been changed to a lesser amount.
Those are
not a
my
great-
initials, by the way.
That's your signature, however. I've
That
compared
is
it
my
with the signature on the answer. That is your signature.
It is.
So now you remember signing that agreement.
I did,
Good. Now may I have it, please?
but not for that amount.
No, not true, sir. Because the original amount on this was some $1,500 and some odd dollars, and that was changed because the Sprint bill was not $200 and some odd dollars, but only $115. So it was reduced. You see that? It was reduced, not increased.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. You signed it. How much of this did you pay?
At the time, I wasn't able to
Not at
pay.
the time. At any time. How much of this did you pay?
$400.
Okay. Is that how much you paid back?
He paid back $350.
All right, he said 400. You have proof of 400?
Yes, I do. I cancel checks. I also paid in money orders, and I don't have the receipts for those.
Okay.
But I'll be honest and say he did pay me $350, even though he doesn't have proof of that.
Okay. $1,130. That's what's left.
Correct.
On the debt. Mm-hmm. And you're suing him for $2,028. Explain that to me.
Actually, on the lease agreement he signed, it says that he must give me a 30-day, 1-month notice prior to moving out. And when
Did you have a roommate before he moved in?
His friend actually moved in at the same time, and they both had the same agreement.
I asked you a question. I want you to give me the answer. Did you have a roommate before he moved in?
We all moved in at the exact same time, basically.
Are you still living in the same place?
Yes, I am.
With whom?
I have roommates now.
Okay. Now, you left, sir, November 2nd,
Yes, that's correct.
2001. Does your lease agreement provide that you give her 30 days notice?
Yes, it does.
Did you?
No, I did not.
Why?
Because she caused me to lose my job and sabotaged my career.
Okay, now let me hear your reason why she caused you to lose your job.
Okay. At the time, I had a regular job as a guitar player in a successful rock band. We were touring and we were on the East Coast, and I borrowed the money from her because our singer had an accident and broke a rib. I didn't have any money to pay the bill at the time, and so she offered to pay it, and I accepted. She said that I could pay her back when I had the money. However, over the next few months, she became very jealous, and it started getting really out of hand. She started calling me nonstop. She started going through my mail. She started going down my phone bill and calling every number on the phone bill. As a matter of fact, I have a phone bill here where her notes are evident, where she was looking for whether it would be a man or a woman answering the phone, and whether or not she would approve.
I still don't understand how she caused you to lose your job.
She was very jealous, and so when I was out on the road touring with a rock band, there are inherently situations that arise where women can get crazy, and she was aware of this, and she became very jealous, and she wanted me to come back to Los Angeles really bad. So what she did was she started to call the singer's wife.
Did you call the singer's wife?
She's a close friend of mine.
What kind of conversation did you have with her?
I asked her if she had heard from her husband because Mark hadn't called me in a week, and he was my boyfriend at the time, and I was very concerned and worried because I had just gone through his pants pocket and found a phone number from a girl, which I called, who is a dancer, a stripper in New Orleans, and I spoke to her on the phone, and she did confirm, that she had been talking to Mark, and she actually forwarded me the emails that Mark had sent her. So it did actually confirm that he was.
Okay, so what did you call this woman for?
She's just my friend. I just wanted to know if she had heard from them. I was trying to call him and contact him because we were in a relationship. So if I hadn't heard from him in 3 days, I was very upset. I was seeing, I was under stress, and I was seeing, I had lost some of my hair because of stress. I mean, it was just very, very bad. But he actually, after I found out,
how did that cause you to lose your job?
She told her so many stories that she finally, the singer's wife that is, finally started to call the singer and tell him that she was filing for divorce, she was going to take their daughter, and that he would never see them again. And in order to keep the peace in his family, he had to let me go. I would have done the same
That's
thing.
true, so that's a lot of compromises.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Did you borrow her pants? Don't tell me up. I don't want to hear up.
Yes, I borrowed.
All right, now. When did your cousin borrow?
Yeah.
Oh, God, give me strength.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Eckert says ex-boyfriend Mark Savon owes for rent and for unpaid loans. Mark says Sherry is holding his belongings.
All right. You all moved into this apartment together? Is that right? And each of you would to pay $500 a month?
That's correct.
Each?
Yes.
Okay. So he owes you $1,630. He didn't give you a month's notice. That's so far. You have a counterclaim, sir, for $5,000. He claimed that she caused you to lose your job.
That's correct.
That would be the reason that you just gave me, that you called the singer's wife and complained and told her a whole bunch of stories.
Yeah, he was very happy. Excuse me.
That the singer is not here, the wife is not here.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's all hearsay. That's somewhere out here that I don't hear. All right, now the next thing that you're counterclaiming for is personal property that you say that she sold at a garage sale. What's the nature of the personal property?
Well, it's basically things like a mountain bike, camping gear, grill.
Why didn't you take that with you when you moved out?
At the time, I had just flown back from Battle Creek, Michigan. They dropped me off in the middle of nowhere, you know. So I had to find my way back to Los Angeles, and I had a U-Haul. I went to get my stuff.
So you got a U-Haul?
Yes, I did. And I started to load my stuff into the truck, at which point Sherry came home, and she started to throw my stuff out into the driveway and damage my stuff. And I was just trying to get out of there as fast as possible. I just wanted to be gone.
Yeah.
And so I did my best to get everything I could.
Yeah.
But I was unable to get everything.
That was in November of 2001. Is that right?
And I've tried to get my stuff back since then.
Well, what have you done?
I asked her if she would give me my stuff back, and she said that she would if I paid her the money that I owed her. So I began paying her some money in order to get my stuff back. But I never received one thing. She would say that she would give me the stuff back, and then she would change her mind. And I never did get one thing back.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, actually, the camping gear he's talking about is the sleeping bag, which I purchased. Here's the receipt. And
you purchased it for whom?
For when we were going to go on a camping trip, but it was been returned. It got returned within the same week.
It was a
so
gift.
when he's talking about camping gear, it's something I own. The things that he's talking about are my things. He got everything that out of there.
Just a
he was
second.
talking
Let me see your list. Let me see your list.
The bike, I don't even know what he's talking about. He never left a bike or any property there. There's nothing there.
Mountain bike, space heater?
I never saw it. I don't know what he's talking about.
Weight bench?
That's actually Todd's, his friend's weight bench. It's not his.
What about the incline bench?
That's also Todd's. That's not Mark's.
I don't know what she's talking about. This is all my property.
Well, then I feel like he had a U-Haul that was a huge truck, and before I got home, he had the whole thing packed. So I don't know why he didn't just take anything that he felt was left behind.
I don't know either. And I don't know why. And I don't know why he waited for a year to come after all this stuff. Anyway, in any event, you didn't pay any rent. Is that right?
I paid rent right up until the time that
No, you didn't pay any rent after you moved out, did you?
No, I did
Right,
not.
then you should have come to get all this stuff.
I tried to, but she wouldn't let me come over, and I didn't want to come over if it.
And what you do is you go to court.
That's
You understand?
true. Yes,
What you do is you sue. What do you expect to do? Hold on to all this stuff for a year?
I tried tried to get it back continuously.
And what you tried by going to court, just like you did now.
I understand.
Well, you do so promptly. It's easy. It's easy for her. She's got an IOU. IOU makes it easy. A lease makes it easy. Well, you don't leave a whole bunch of stuff if this is your property for a year and then say, oh, by the by, I want my property back. So you forget about that. You owe her $1,630. Isn't that what I said? $1,630?
$1,630.
Pay the money. Goodbye.
By excuse, you may step out.
It was a jealous nightmare.
His unfaithfulness and his cheating and his liaisons with groupies on the tour bus actually was the breaking point of the relationship.
She really didn't like the whole idea of someone being out on the road.
He couldn't stay safe.
नीचे रख के देखो